Hi, I'm Corbin Chase. Welcome to Spiritual Health Expert Podcast. There is a holistic and spiritual remedy for everything. On this podcast, we talk with experts from various fields of life, health, and healing who prioritize integrative and spiritual approaches to wholeness and happiness. Let's talk about it. Today, I am here with my partner, Alex, and we are talking about spiritual eating, the approach to spiritual eating. What does that actually mean and how to do it?
Thank you, Corbin. I'm very excited to be on. If you could help me understand better spiritual cooking and how I can better get you to eat my food, I would love to get into it.
Okay, you have a bad situation. You grab an orange. You sit outside in the sun. You peel it with love and kind of just like mull over your feelings, working through, pushing that energy through your body while you're enjoying the orange. After that, you've cooled off a little. You're ready to kind of bring it home, recollect yourself, give your whole being like an energy that is a memory of something that's precious for you. Then, this is how we were talking about this the other day, about how meals can have an energetic signature. I'm not saying every single time you have to eat the healthiest thing in the world, the most whole thing in the world, because the energetic kind of like integrity or signature or significance behind something can overpower like the physical benefits of a food. So for example, if as a family, you have a really, really amazing family outing, a moment where like, oh my gosh, on like a rare occasion, each person was like so happy and something really amazing happened, and then there was a group hug, and at that time you were all eating Moose Tracks ice cream. That food as a family unit has this energetic signature that is so potent and brings each person into a really special place when they think about it, when they think about that food. That's what happens. It's kind of like you put the cloak on of the energy signature of that food. And so you can eat things that are, air quote, like maybe not that healthy, but the energy of it is so healthy and healing.
Okay. So this would that kind of apply to our like pizza situation? Like, or like as we make pizza each time, it sort of adds to the spiritual significance of it each time we make it. It's like, oh, so many memories are built up into this dish.
Well, I think what I value, so yeah, we eat a lot of pizza.
Yeah.
Holistic pizza, which means not processed pizza. Each ingredient is homemade with local ingredients. That's been a point of confusion on my Instagram recently for people. So I would say, honestly, this is going to sound maybe a little bit nuts, but I feel like pizza has been my teacher in a lot of ways.
Oh.
Like first,
I love that.
I see pizza as so healthy now. It is so wholesome and provides like every food group in the most beautiful way. 2, it brings the whole family together because every single person plays a part. I get the ingredients, you roll out the dough, the kids help make it, you grill it, we all eat it together. It's like our hands are literally touching the food. We're all eating the same thing, which is rare, especially in today's culture where we have like a processed kids meal and like a stiff salad, that parents think are healthy. Like it's not as like a let's eat together as like a ceremony.
That's true. And literally the kids' hands are all over the dough. They love it.
Yeah, it's great. And so I'd say pizza's been my teacher in a lot of ways, and that's why we might do a workshop about it. Every time I think pizza, I'm like, oh, we're going to all sit by a fire, we're going to eat together, the kids are going to be involved. Like, I think that's why I've been eating it so much, because it's something that works for us.
Yeah.
And it feels really good and special. And now I don't want other people's pizza. I'm like, ours is so special.
I know. Tell me if this is something of note, but like I do feel like when I go out for pizza, I feel like crap.
Well, yeah.
But when we make pizza, I could eat an endless amount. I never feel bloated. I always feel good. I feel like I do feel like I ate something healthy, or something that benefited me.
This is one of those moments where I want to be like, well, duh, but I need to remember that.
Yeah, all right. I think you need to work on knowing that everything that's obvious to you isn't obvious to everyone.
Okay. When you're going out to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, you're eating trash. You are eating trash. You are. It's absolute. The person who's creating it is probably unhappy. Like, the plate that it's served on is probably toxic. You know, it's just, you're paying overpriced for very processed foods with tons of sugar. You know, it's hard. There are restaurants that do this well and serve really healthy foods, but most food is absolute trash. Our pizza is medicine. It is ancestral. It awakens, like, the ancestral wisdom within you because we're eating in the way that our ancestors used to eat. There's something about it that's familiar. Remember the other day we were talking about the fire?
Yeah.
And about how when you look at a fire, there's just like a live roaring fire.
Oof.
There's something that is familiar about it. It's like, for some reason, I feel like I've seen this fire 100 million times before.
Yeah.
And that's because we have in other lives.
Yeah.
And the same thing works with food. It's like, oh, wow, when I eat these real whole grains and fresh leaves picked from the ground, it just feels right. It feels familiar. Like, my DNA recognizes it. My whole body's like, finally, you're feeding me food that I'm actually meant to eat.
Oh, I feel that.
It's medicine. It's symbolic.
Hmm.
It's connection. It is spiritual.
We have like a trusted pizza place, like Maine Beer Company, and it's good and they use good quality ingredients, but still I feel like the energetic difference between even that, which is good quality, and what we make is just miles apart.
Well, another thing to acknowledge that I really like about Maine Beer Company and other businesses is when the business has a purpose greater than themselves, it does raise the energetic frequency and quality of everything they produce. So they're both their beer and their salads and their pizza, even though they do seasonal and locally sourced ingredients, because their whole business's foundation and intention is based off of a higher purpose of like supporting the planet, and all of their tips go to as donations to organizations. Yeah. That alone, the physical food doesn't seem to be altered by that, but the frequency, the energy of the food is raised. So, and I think it's not like going out and eating is part of our culture, and even we do that. Oh, yeah. So I think it's just about picking the places that do a really good job with the seasonal and the attention, like family-owned businesses, farm to table. And I want to like also acknowledge and call out how difficult it is to be organic, seasonal, and form relationships with local farms to source at that level. Mm-hmm. And then on the fly, change your menu when something like the crops just didn't grow this week or something, you know? But it's really difficult. It's so much harder to start a business that way instead of just getting cheaper food that's frozen and shipped in from other places and that anyone could make. You know, you don't have an artist making it or someone with heart and soul cooking it. That's all into the factor. Also, I want to mention that foods that are frozen have much less life force energy. So even if you're eating, again, air quote, like a healthy meal, which you consider a healthy meal, but it's frozen, it's not bad. It just doesn't have as much life force energy in it. And even we freeze our bread sometimes because that's like a sustainable way to afford like nice bread. Yeah. But I'm still aware that, okay, this bread has less life force than it did before it was frozen. Like, the fresher is always better, and that's an Ayurvedic principle.
Even if it's frozen, it's better not to, like, waste it in general and, like, lose all value from it rather than just, like, freeze and make it a sustainable meal that we can revisit. It still has, even though it's frozen, it still has a good trace of that energetic value. Is that correct?
Not really. But it does have like a lot of the physical nutritional value. Okay. But when we're talking about energy and like consuming life force energy, it has a lot less. But I understand that that's not always, sometimes we have to freeze our food. And so I think it's more important though, if we're talking about which is more important, it's more important to not waste food and be a responsible earth dweller and just freeze it and eat it at a later date than it would be to waste it because it has less life force energy, you know?
Frozen vegetables feel gross when I eat them. I still feel off when I eat them, and maybe that speaks to the lack of energetic nutrition that it is.
Well, you're always going to feel better walking outside and picking something that was directly grown from the ground. And by it being frozen, that's another step. Like if you have a tally for how many times something has been processed, have it being frozen, add a tally mark.
Oh, that's a good exercise. Like how many tally marks are in your meal, like the less the better. Mm-hmm.
I get that,
Yeah.
but I also want people to like
No.
enjoy it. You
no,
know,
no. Yeah, we're not calorie counting or anything here.
None of this is like, I don't want anything that we're talking about to ever be seen as like, this is the trend or this is like the structure. These are just the concepts, the things to be mindful about that you think about, and then eventually they mean something to you. It changes your perspective on how you see the world and how you want to participate in health and your experience on the planet.
So it's like it's really about like finding meaning and purpose in everything, but like genuine, not just.
Yeah, it nothing is genuine until it means something to you. So I could sit here and talk about all of these concepts and ways of eating, but it will take time for you to kind of process through these ideas and figure out your own truth within them, because each person is at a different spiritual age and different experiences with different means. But up leveling in some shift or another is still headed in the right direction. So you take everything that we're talking about and you just start to like practice applying it to your life and observe and trial and error and maybe decide you're against it for a while. And then you're like, well, wait, maybe actually not, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not rigid. It's like, this is a lifestyle and it takes time to build.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, yeah, you have to find your own truth in it, and that will be your tailoring. Like, because your truth is going to be expressed a little bit different than someone else's truth within it. If that makes sense. Like, someone might live right next to a farm and might walk over there every single day to get a fresh egg, and that's what feels best for them, as where you know, go to the store and buy a pack of eggs that are somewhat local. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that's still a huge step in the right direction, and both are correct. Neither of ones are wrong.
I gotcha.
So it starts with you finding your truth in the concept first, but then like people who also want to prioritize holistic health for their families and children, it has to start with you. You have to find your truth in it first, and then you learn how to grow that concept within the people that you live with. I think that's an important piece.
No, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen like so we have carrots growing in the backyard. I mean, I don't know if you guys do. I just found out like a month or two ago that there are fully grown carrots growing in the backyard, just waiting to be plucked. But so the girls, they love carrots, and they'll eat it with like ranch or cut up as fries or baked or whatever, you know. And I've noticed like a difference between the joy that comes from pulling a carrot straight out of the ground, washing it and eating it, between that and just, you know, pulling it out of a bag and eating it. It's a whole different experience. You really feel like this carrot is a part of the ground that we live on, you know, and it's like, and I got to be a part of that process, and that comes through in how it's consumed.
I think what you're talking about is that ancestral remembering, like taking our girls or our daughters, ages 3 and 4, when they go outside in the sunshine, in the fresh air, have their hands in the dirt, they pull food that we grew like right outside of our home, and they get to eat it. They feel prideful. There is a remembering that is awoken within you. Like, I think I've done this before. I don't know. It just feels good. It feels right. I feel really nice about this. Like, it's not like oh, that's weird. It's like oh yeah, like, nice. Like, I can fully support myself. Like, that feeling feels good to a lot of people.
Yeah, I do. I definitely feel that. It's like, I mean, and maybe this is a part of it, or maybe it's just me, but every time I'm like, I pull this out, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to grow like a whole field of broccoli. I'm going to grow like a ton of potatoes. Who needs a grocery store? Whatever, you know?
Or you feel like a provider,
yeah.
You know, and that is good for your health. That is great for your solar plexus. That's so good for your total being, to feel like a provider in the most fundamental way. And we feel like providers in terms of money, but we forget that we can feel like providers in other ways too, that are even more grounding.
That's a really good way of putting it. And honestly, okay, so that brings me into another thing that I wanted to ask you. So I really like cooking for people, but to cook for someone spiritually means you're in tune with what they need for themselves. Is there like a way or like a strategy or anything that you can say on cooking spiritually for someone else as well as yourself?
Yes. You cook with love. If love is not an ingredient, it's not going to land well. It's just food. You're not honoring the food. You're not honoring the people. And if you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be hosting. I think if you can afford it, the best way would be to also provide whole seasonal, like balanced meals for people. Even a meal that has a really special meaning to you or meaning for the group. That's also like a spiritual, high energy, special way of cooking. But if you're not loving it and like picturing the food going into everybody's bodies in like a not a weird way, of just like, it's just like special. Like, this food is going to nourish people. I get the opportunity to create something that will nourish others. Like, that is a high calling in its own. Like, hosting is so much more than having a dinner party. Like, I think, then serving things on like locally made pottery, like clean clay by actual people's hands and like non-toxic glazes and stuff. Whew. Talk about a spiritual dinner party.
All right. I feel that a lot. The atmosphere that you create, it's all a part of the meal.
You know what counts in the atmosphere? Is the vibe. Which is the energy. And if the energy is of love and gratitude, people are going to walk in and feel like home. Aww. Which will only help people digest their food more.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. I like that a lot. So would you say that that's really... like that's the most that you can do in that way, where it's like what if I came up to you and I was like, what do you need physically, mentally, energetically in terms of a meal, and I were to build something based on that?
I love this question. This is a greater topic we should probably do a separate podcast on, but we'll just touch on it real quickly, which is men supporting their female partners, or female partners supporting their other female partners, or any partner supporting their partner who has a menstrual cycle during their menstrual phases. So my experience of my life is ruled significantly by my menstrual cycle. I am heavily influenced by my hormones. And I know you're a dude, so you do not have a menstrual cycle. But if you did have one, I love you and I care about your experience and like all the things you have going on in your world. So I would be like, I'm going to know about this, and I'm going to be aware of where you are, when, and how to read your body and like all of the things, understand that and support you in that, which is what you do for me, which is the first time I've ever experienced that from a partner. Aww. And so you already answer your own question in the way that you already behave. So like during my period, you know that I need iron. I need grounding foods. I crave red meat naturally. And that's what you're like, all right, you're on your period. I know what to cook. And the intention behind that is so wholesome, also ancestral, honoring female energy, balancing the masculine and the feminine. There's so many things going on with just that. It almost wouldn't matter what you made, just because that's your intention. But because it's me, we try when we can to do grass-fed and all of that.
Corbin, there is no instance where I'm not coming home with something that isn't grass-fed or organic or seasonal.
As much as we can.
As much as we can.
Yeah. So another way other than period to support someone is if if Alba's having a rough day at school, I want to do something like a pizza would be a great family medicine. It would be medicine. It would be medicinal. It would bring her out of the headspace of whatever happened at school and make her feel supported and loved and incorporated and connection all at home, with also foods that are healthy for everybody. Similarly, like if someone that's grieving, there are lots of foods you can cook specifically for grief.
Just to give me a quick example for reference, what's a quick food for grief?
Anything that has ancestral meaning or that the deceased cooked often, you're inviting the energy of that individual back in, which is also...
That relates to that person in a way.
Yeah, because you're inviting their energy back in, and you can feel them. Just because a person is physically gone does not mean they're gone. Their spirit is still there, just in another form, but their energy doesn't have to be gone. Remember, there's an energetic signature. So cooking your grandma's leftover Thanksgiving turkey noodle soup, that invites her back in. You are giving yourself medicine that she gave to her family.
Okay, so then this is giving me a good reference for how to cook for other people. It does seem like it's more about the love and intention and the atmosphere. It's not so much because it comes from you and what your body needs, giving that to someone else authentically.
Well, it's a completely different purpose. You're not cooking for
Yeah.
yourself. People, like, traditionally in cultures, like, have gatherings for a celebration. And so you do have, like, special celebratory foods and foods that you can make in bulk that are you often cooked together. And like the Persian meals are a great example of this. It's really great meals that are cooked more in bulk, but are also so healthy and traditional and ceremonial. Like that's the purpose. You know, I wouldn't cook something that I needed for myself necessarily for a group setting, because that would be it's a different template.
Honestly, after all this, I feel like I understand a lot more about how to spiritually eat. So thank you.
Thanks, Alex, for chatting. Head to my Instagram page at Spiritual Health Expert if you want to learn more about spiritual and intuitive eating. DM me with questions. I try to respond as much as I can.